Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast.
Mm.
You know, we like to break down those investing topics that may be a little bit complex. You don't have to do all the heavy lifting.
Absolutely.
And today, we're going to dive into quantum computing,
All right.
what it could mean for your portfolio.
Right.
We're going to be looking specifically at Rigetti computing,
Okay.
ticker symbol RGTI.
Mm-hmm.
And this conversation couldn't be more timely because Google just launched their Willow quantum chip.
Right.
And that has sent shockwaves through the market. So by the end of this episode, you'll understand why this matters to investors and what to watch for with RGTI.
All right. Sounds good.
Now I'm joined by a true expert in this field, so welcome. RGTI stock has been on a tear. I mean, it's up over 600% in the past year.
It's been incredible.
Astronomical. What's fueling this incredible surge?
Well, it's definitely true that RGTI has been capturing the attention of investors, and these gains, while very impressive, are not entirely out of the ordinary for a company operating in a sector as revolutionary as quantum computing.
The potential is enormous.
Yeah.
We saw something similar with the rise of the internet,
Of course.
and more recently with the advent of artificial intelligence.
So are you saying we're looking at a potential bubble situation, or is there real substance behind this surge?
Well, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
To understand that we need to dig deeper into both the company and the technology itself.
Okay.
So let's start with the basics. What makes quantum computing so different from the computers that we use every day?
Okay, so I've heard quantum computing described as a leap comparable to moving from dial-up to fiber optic internet.
Right.
Is that an accurate analogy? And if so, what are the advancements that make that comparison valid?
That's a great analogy.
Okay. Traditional computers rely on bits, which can be either a 0 or a 1. Quantum computers, on the other hand, utilize qubits. These qubits leverage the very strange laws of quantum mechanics to exist in a superposition where they can be both 0 and 1 simultaneously.
Wow.
This, along with another quantum phenomenon called entanglement, allows quantum computers to perform calculations at an exponentially faster rate than traditional computers
Okay.
for certain types of problems.
So we're talking about a whole new level of computing power.
Absolutely.
But how does this translate into real-world applications? What are some of the problems that quantum computing can solve that are impossible for our current computers?
Well, imagine designing new life-saving drugs at a fraction of the cost and time.
Right.
Or developing new materials with properties we can only dream of today, leading to breakthroughs in energy and manufacturing, or perhaps cracking the encryption algorithms that secure our online world.
Wow.
These are just a few examples of the potential of quantum computing.
That's pretty mind-blowing stuff.
It is.
So where does RGTI fit into all of this? What makes them stand out in this burgeoning field?
Well, RGTI is considered a frontrunner in quantum computing research and development.
Okay.
They've made significant strides in building functional quantum computers and developing the software needed to program them, and they just received a massive vote of confidence from the government, a $2.7 billion grant
Wow.
to boost quantum capabilities here in the U.S.
$2.7 billion.
Yeah.
That's a serious investment.
It is.
It sounds like the government is betting big on RGTI and quantum computing in general.
Absolutely.
But hold on. I'm looking at their financials, and they're still reporting significant losses.
Okay.
Their net income was negative $60.6 million, with earnings per share of negative 37 cents. So how do we reconcile this huge government investment with their continued financial struggles?
That's a crucial question, and it highlights the inherent challenge of investing in emerging technologies. Developing groundbreaking technology takes time and a lot of investment. Think back to the early days of the internet. Companies were pouring billions of dollars into building infrastructure and developing these new technologies.
Right.
Many of them didn't survive,
Yeah.
but those that did ultimately transformed the world.
So are you suggesting that RGTI could be the next Amazon or Google of the quantum computing era?
It's certainly possible, but it's important to remember that potential doesn't always translate into profit.
Yeah.
There are still many hurdles to overcome.
All right, so let's talk about those hurdles.
Okay.
One that immediately comes to mind is competition,
Right.
especially now with Google's entry into the field with their Willow chip. Is this good news or bad news for RGTI?
It's a bit of a double-edged sword.
Right.
On the one hand, Google brings vast resources and a proven track record of innovation. Their entry into the quantum computing race will undoubtedly intensify the competition.
So increased competition from a behemoth like Google could actually hurt RGTI in the long run.
It's a possibility, but on the flip side, Google's move also validates the importance of quantum computing. It signals to the world that this is not just a niche technology, but a potential game changer.
Yeah.
And that could attract even more investors to the space, potentially benefiting everyone, including RGTI.
Okay, so more competition, but also more attention and potentially more investment.
Exactly.
Got it. So for all of us listening who are trying to figure out what to do with our portfolios, what's the takeaway here? Should we be buying RGTI stock like crazy?
I would caution against making any rash decisions based purely on hype. Remember, the fear of missing out, or FOMO, can be a very dangerous motivator in investing.
Yeah, you bring up a crucial point about risk management.
Absolutely.
In your view, what are the specific red flags investors should watch for when evaluating a company in a nascent field like quantum computing?
That's a great question. We'll delve into that and more when we come back after a quick break. Stick with us.
Right, sounds good.
Okay. When assessing a company like Rigetti, it's essential to go beyond those buzzwords and really get into the specifics.
Okay.
Start by examining those financials.
Are their losses shrinking? Is their revenue growing?
Right.
Look for signs of a clear path towards profitability.
So even with groundbreaking technology, we can't ignore the fundamentals.
Absolutely not. So next, scrutinize their technology.
Okay.
How does it compare to the competition? What are their key differentiators?
Okay.
Have they achieved any significant milestones in terms of qubit stability or error correction?
Right.
These are critical factors that will determine their long-term success.
And of course, we can't forget about the competitive landscape. You mentioned Google's entry with their Willow chip. Who else is in this race, and how does RGTI stack up?
Well, the quantum computing field is attracting a lot of major players. Besides Google, companies like IBM, Microsoft, and Intel are all investing heavily in this space.
Okay.
Rigetti's strength lies in their full-stack approach.
Okay.
They're developing both the hardware and the software, which gives them greater control over the entire ecosystem. So it's not just about building the best quantum computer. It's about creating a platform that's user-friendly and accessible.
Exactly.
For a wide range of applications.
Precisely. And that's where RGTI's focus on developing a cloud-based platform for quantum computing could give them an edge.
Okay.
Think of it as the AWS of quantum computing.
Oh, I see. So it's like that platform approach.
That's exactly
that makes it accessible to other users. Now, speaking of applications, we've touched on the potential of quantum computing to revolutionize fields like medicine materials, science, even cybersecurity. But let's get more specific. Can you give us some concrete examples of how this technology could be used in the real world?
Absolutely. In healthcare, quantum computers could simulate the behavior of molecules at an unprecedented level of detail.
Wow.
Accelerating drug discovery and enabling the development of personalized medicine tailored to an individual's genetic makeup. In material science, they could help design new materials with properties we can only dream of today, revolutionizing everything from batteries to solar panels. And in finance, they could power sophisticated algorithms for risk management, fraud detection, and portfolio optimization.
It sounds like we're talking about potentially changing the world as we know it.
It's true.
But how long before this becomes a reality? Are we talking years, decades?
That's a key question, and there's no easy answer.
Yeah.
Quantum computing is still in its early stages of development.
Okay.
There are significant technical challenges to overcome, such as building quantum computers with enough qubits and achieving the necessary levels of stability and error correction.
So it's not a question of if quantum computing will change the world, but when.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
And the when is what makes investing in this space both exciting and challenging.
Yeah.
Early investors could reap enormous rewards if they back the right horses. But there's also a significant risk of losing money if the technology doesn't live up to the hype or if a particular company falters.
So we've got this revolutionary technology with potentially world-changing applications.
Absolutely.
But it's still early days.
It is.
And there are risks involved.
Yeah.
What should investors be paying attention to as they navigate this complex landscape?
I would say focus on 3 key areas.
Okay.
First, track the progress of the technology itself. Are we seeing breakthroughs in qubit stability and error correction?
Okay.
Are practical applications starting to emerge?
So it's not just about the hype, it's about concrete advancements in the technology.
Exactly. Second, pay attention to that competitive landscape.
Okay.
Which companies are making the most progress?
Mm-hmm.
Which ones are attracting top talent
Okay.
and securing those key partnerships?
Yeah.
And third, closely monitor the regulatory environment.
Right.
How are governments around the world approaching this technology?
Right.
Changes in regulations could have a significant impact on the development and adoption of quantum computing.
It sounds like there's a lot to keep track of.
It is a complex and rapidly evolving space.
Yeah,
But that's also what makes it so fascinating, isn't it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up our discussion on RGTI, I want to circle back to Google's entry into the quantum computing arena.
Right. Their launch of the Willow chip was a major event.
So how does this new development factor into everything we've discussed so far?
Well, it adds another layer of complexity,
Okay.
both in terms of competition
Mhm.
and market validation. We've already talked about the competitive aspect, but let's delve into market validation.
Okay.
Google's move is a clear signal that they see significant potential in quantum computing.
Right.
They're not just dipping their toes in the water, they're making a substantial investment.
Yeah.
And that, in turn, reinforces the legitimacy of the entire sector.
So even though it introduces more competition, Google's involvement could also attract more attention and investment,
Absolutely.
ultimately accelerating the development and adoption of quantum computing as a whole.
Precisely. It's a classic example of how competition, while challenging, can also be a catalyst for innovation and growth.
Okay, so Google's entry is a mixed bag.
Yeah.
It intensifies competition, but also validates the market.
Right.
For investors watching this unfold, what should they be paying attention to? What are some key indicators that might signal whether RGTI is successfully navigating this new landscape?
Well, first and foremost, keep an eye on their financial performance.
Okay.
Are they making progress toward profitability? Are they effectively managing their cash burn?
Okay.
Second, track their partnerships and customer acquisition.
Right.
Are they securing collaborations with industry leaders? Are they attracting customers who are willing to pay for their quantum computing services? And third, watch for announcements about technological advancements.
Okay.
Are they continuing to improve their quantum computers?
Yeah.
Are they developing new and innovative software applications?
These are all great points, it sounds like. Investors need to do their homework and stay informed
They-
about the latest developments. But beyond these specific indicators, is there anything else investors should keep in mind as they consider whether to invest in RGTI or any company operating in the quantum computing space?
Absolutely. Remember that investing in emerging technologies is inherently risky. Do your due diligence, understand the potential rewards and risks, and make sure your investment decisions align with your overall financial goals. Don't get caught up in the hype. Instead, approach this space with a healthy dose of skepticism
Right.
and a willingness to learn the quantum computing revolution is just beginning.
Yeah.
And those who are well-informed and strategic in their investments have the potential to reap significant rewards.
This has been an incredibly insightful conversation. So much to consider. Before we move on, any final thoughts for our listeners as they try to make sense of this complex and rapidly evolving space?
Stay curious, stay informed, and remember that patience is key when it comes to investing in emerging technologies.
Okay.
The quantum computing journey is just beginning, and it's sure to be a wild ride.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the intricacies of quantum computing to the potential risks and rewards of investing in this groundbreaking field. But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a question to ponder. What are your thoughts on quantum computing? Do you believe it's the next big thing, something that will fundamentally reshape our world? Or are you more skeptical, viewing the current hype with a grain of salt?
I'm curious to hear what our listeners think. Is it a bubble waiting to burst or the next technological revolution?
We want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you found this discussion helpful, please consider subscribing to Investing Talk Podcast and sharing this episode with anyone interested in learning more about the exciting world of quantum computing and investing. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of finance.